I'm Juli Joy, and we will be offering a new series on this channel titled The Ascension Chronicles, featuring Dyana Love and Zion of the Zion Collective. Zion and Dyana were brought together from the future because they reached the time in their experience to unite and fulfill a mission together to assist Gaia and humanity before, during, and after the Ascension. Both are ascended masters incarnate. Zion is a walk-in, walking down from the 13th dimension over 79,000 years. Both are channels, intuitive energy healers, and mediums reunited in this incarnation and trained by the Zion Collective, a host of non-physical beings, ascended masters, the angelic realm, and cosmic beings who relay information and teachings. We began these recordings for this series during the Lionsgate timeline for 2020. Now, with no further ado, here are Dyana and Zion.
So, Zion, let's talk about the people that are just now waking up, because I know people who are waking up and met people that are freaking out when they get red-pilled, which I don't like to do to people, but it happens, and to find a way to help calm them down and because they literally are terrified when someone does that to them. I had someone called me one day and said, you've got to help me, you've got to help me. She was crying, she was upset, and I said, okay, I'll be right there. So trying to make sense of all of the craziness in the world is probably a good place for us to start, because there are people who are veteran spiritualists that may find some of the things that we say at this point interesting. But what we're going to do is take everyone on a storyline, on a trip through Ascension, to help them understand what it's all about. And even if the veterans have missed a topic, it wouldn't hurt them to hear it too. So what would be your thoughts on the world is an illusion?
Well, first thing first, I will definitely say, don't take my word for it. Go out there, do your research, and because I strongly believe when people hear things and they go dig for what they perceive to be the truth, they find more information, because whenever you go out there and start looking, the universe will give you more of what you are looking for according to your own understanding, right? Because we will give you the basic information template, I should say, but the actual truth that the universe wants you to know and understand, you're going to have to step it up and do your research, start digging, as Human says, start digging into that rabbit hole until you actually find yourself again, because of course we all have to refine ourselves and figure out exactly, okay, where am I standing, how do I go? And this is where we come in, that you could always come up to us and we could explain to you in topics that you wish to be so-called redefined to your own understanding. And that's the best way I could put it.
Well, I agree with that, because I do recall when I first started, this was when computers first came out. It was in the early 90s. And I remember I wasn't enthralled with the internet at first, because it was just so slow that I was too impatient. I didn't want to take the time. But when it, as it improved over time, all the bugs started getting worked out. We weren't on DOS anymore. We actually got to Windows. I remember somebody sent me an email, and it was about gratitude. And it was something about that word gratitude that grabbed me. And it was sort of a magical experience for me, because I actually followed the link to see what was this all about. And that started me on my journey, because that was the information I needed. It may have even been coded to trigger me to awaken. And I haven't stopped. I've been on this journey ever since, just digging for all the information I could get my hands on. So you're absolutely right.
Yes, because the best part of this universe is the universe is looking for you more than you're looking for it. So in an event, in any event that somebody is awake and they start looking for information, all the information will come, and they will have that episode, I should say. Oh, I've seen this before. Oh, I should have thought about that. Oh, yeah, I remember now. So all this, what you call deja vu, will come to light, and they will see that, all the stuff that have been in their face all along. They just were not aware of it. So now being awakened is more like being aware of your surrounding. I mean, it's like jumping in the water, but you're not wet because you are wet, but you're just so oblivious to the fact that you jump in the water, it completely evades you. But now you are awake, you will see that the water is cold, the water is hot. You will feel like the water have its own life that it's sharing with you. There's so much thing you could do with the water, and so on and so on.
That's the connection you get from the trigger words, or whatever triggered you to want to connect further.
Absolutely.
Very well said. And it's true, even today, after all these years. Information finds its way to me, and I'm totally amazed at where did that come from? How did I get on that page, that website page? But it was exactly what I needed at the time and didn't even realize it.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same principle as whenever you are down, like down ground zero, and somebody you really care about from your family will give you a call and say, "Hey, how you doing? I was just checking on you." And because that person felt that you needed to hear their voice at that time.
Yeah.
It's a common denominator that happens to everybody. Yeah. And it's the same thing when you're waking up. You start seeing all this thing, and they'll start popping up to you, and it will be like a domino effect.
My mother was good at doing that to me. I mean, I wasn't really good about checking in, and I would get a random phone call from her, and it was like I really needed to hear her at that time. And she would do that. She just intuitively knew she needed to talk to me. Intuition is a really big one, a big topic, because we have so much of it. Everyone does, but they don't know or realize how much or how to use it. So the interesting thing as you were talking is I could see how everyone is so attached to all the drama around us that they get triggered by that gratitude or whatever the word is, and all of a sudden the drama drifts to the background and the search for the truth comes into the foreground. So detaching from the drama has never ever changed. It's been predominant in the spiritual path, is learning to detach from the drama. Can you talk to us about what exactly that entails?
Well, you call it drama, I call it noise, interference. Mm-hmm. Because to me, I think it's both definition fits, depends on who's listening. I call it noise interference because it interferes with your way of life. It interferes with your thoughts. It interferes with the process that you should have been on. And to get back to that, you have to be able to redefine yourself as, okay, this is noise. Like, for example, how they say, like, whenever you go soul searching, you have to start cutting out people that you don't need, because all these people does not serve you, so you don't need them in your life anymore, because they just either leeching off you or they are part of the noise that's keeping you on that merry-go-round. And if they serve nothing, you need to cut them off. And that's a simple way to start. And once you start waking up, those people sometime will see that you're not the same person.
They'll drift out of your life.
Exactly.
And it's appropriate for that they do.
Exactly. So you have to start recognizing, what's drama, what's noise, and how important are they to you. I mean, do you need um, people talking in your ears for no reason? Do you need people disturbing your peace? I mean, what you have to put them in a scale and weight that on, okay, is this good for me or is this bad for me?
Or good
From
for your journey.
Exactly. From a scale of 1 to 5, how is that person benefiting me? And how 9 out of 10 you find out that you benefit that person 10 times, and that's why the person is sticking with you.
So you're benefiting them more than they're actually benefiting you.
Exactly, and that's what distracting you from your own path of finding who you truly are, or finding what you truly are, and seeing, the light at the end of the tunnel. And what I would recommend is to start small. Start small and start taking notes of what's what, who's who. I mean, you could start as simple as starting decluttering your bedroom, starting decluttering your closet, and little by little, when you get to people, start decluttering them too. That also includes family members.
Yes.
Because it have been known that family members sometimes they're the worst.
Yes, I have seen that.
And you don't have to cut them off, but put some distance between you and them. And eventually, once you start changing, they will see that you're not the same person that they used to take advantage of. They will just walk away and say, "Oh, you know what? I can't do this to so and so no more because he or she's not the same person."
Right. They've learned how to say no.
Exactly. So by you simply recognize, that this is noise, this is drama, I do not need it in my life, that's where the change start happening.
Yes, it does.
Little by little, by little, by little, by little, by little.
Well, what you're discussing, actually the point that you're making with this is why it's so important to become more observant, to go within and hear the silence and stillness, and to awaken what it is you need in your life and what it is you don't, what it is you desire, and what's the path to get there. All of those answers are found within you. And as you ask the questions, the answers will find you. One example is calming your emotions, learning how to control your emotions, because people who, we've been trained and programmed to do knee-jerk reactions to emotional things that happen, and that's part of the drama that's deliberately imposed upon us, because if someone can control your emotions, they can control you. So learning to control your emotions and become a very observant person before you respond, I would like to hear you talk about that.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so first, let me touch base on emotion. Emotion is a frequency that we all learn to embody that, as we grow up. Like, for example, let's start as a baby. As a baby, you do not know anything but, how you feel when you're hungry and how you feel and you feel love, right? Because these are the two emotions that babies embody. As you start getting older, you start learning from your environment what pain is when you fall, right? And then you start learning some more by observing your parent, okay, what is really love is, and what hate is, and what, so on, so on, so on. Now, we have never been taught that emotion needs to be controlled. Because, for example, a lot of people put love as the main character, in the world, which I totally disagree. Love does not conquer all. Love is equal to hate. Love is equal to jealousy. Love is equal to all the emotion that you could possibly come up with. Because if you two hate somebody as equally as you love somebody, you do you do the opposite of the mass destruction as if you were to love the person. I don't know if that really makes sense.
You might need to explain that more.
Okay. So what I mean is, if you love somebody, you will die for the person. But if you hate the person, you kill the person. And you kill the person with no regard for his or her life, because you just hate. It's just pure hate. But it's the same thing with love. So if you put those in a scale like this, they are equally strong.
That's
Love
the balance.
Exactly. Love. Exactly. So all these feelings are equally valuable and equally dangerous. Because if you love somebody too much, what do? You smother the person, and eventually, you know.
Yeah, see, I got it. I just got it.
So too much love is bad. Too much hate is bad. Too much anger is bad. Too much of anything is bad. So we have to learn how to balance all these emotions into this one body, vessel, I should say. Because if, okay, so let's say like I know that you love me, right? That you love me very much, and to me, I felt like you love me too much. Now, me, myself, and I, what am I going to do? What can I do? I could control you, you know, by letting you thinking that I love you equally, which is what's going on in a lot of, you know, most relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so, and at the same time, hate could be the same thing. You know, if I know that somebody hate me, I will try to the best that I can to make the person love me, and by doing that, I'll do whatever he or she said.
Or you could learn to push their buttons and cause them to act out emotionally because they hate you, and that you can use to manipulate them.
Exactly.
That's happening in our world today.
All day, every day. So I mean, so that's exactly what I'm talking about by when I say too much of anything is not good. So once you start learning how to, and actually I just realized that because I've been thinking about all these emotional things, how do we coexist in a world, how do we coexist all these emotions into one vessel? And it came to me, it's like neutrality is the ultimate word. Because, so if I were to put that in picture, imagine a big tree, right? The tree is rooted to the ground, which is, let's call that tree neutrality. All the leaves in the tree would be emotion, love, hate, passion, greed, jealousy, whatever it is. But that tree is capable of handling all the emotion because it doesn't have any judgment for any of them. And that tree treats all the leaves as equal. Because that tree respects each of the leaves that is in its, you know, boundary, in its, you know, vessel. So having respect for all these emotions make you bigger than life, because you are able to manage hate, you are able to manage love, you are able to manage all these emotions, not letting them control you, not letting other people use them to control you. Again, makes you bigger than life.
So the tree is basically an observer who is observing all of the interactions and personalities and relationships going on, but remaining neutral.
Exactly.
And as a result, that tree learns through observation, becomes very wise. And by not judging, the tree remains neutral. That makes that tree very, very powerful.
Exactly, because that tree can use each of these branches, each of these leaves, you know, anytime it pleases. That tree could, you know, it could love, it could hate, it could do it could pull any of these emotions to use it as its tool at
Well,
will.
that's stepping out of neutrality at that point. So explain that a little bit further.
Well, like I said, I said use. I said that you could use them as needed. So
Their
it's
emotions.
not step. Yes.
Okay.
So okay, let me relate that to the human vessel. Being the human vessel, you are neutral. Being neutral in the human vessel, which means that you do not embody too much of anything. You respect all emotion equally, right? So, by having respect for the emotion equally, in an event, okay, let's put it in a everyday situation. Let's say like you go to the store, right? And you go to the store, you see this guy pushing, this old lady around for no reason, right? Now you said, okay, in this vessel I have all the emotions. Now I need um anger. Okay. You call anger forth, you step in front of the guy, say, hey, why are you pushing this young lady around like that? You have no right to do that. Right? So you call anger forth and you use it, and once you finish use it, you retract it, and now you switch it to love, where you love and passion, where you are catering to that young lady, that, are you okay, is everything okay?
That's
and
compassion.
then exactly,
Yes.
so you see how you switch from being angry
Right.
at the person that's and then suddenly you switch back to being loved.
Yes.
And then once that situation is over, you switch back to being neutral, where you don't hate, you're not angry at the person anymore, but you also not all lovey-dovey at the young lady that's being brutalized. You go back to your neutral poles, and you just continue shopping, and then get out, go to your car and go home.
So by embracing all emotions, you're more balanced. You can also use them to stand your ground, to not allow people to use you, to make your desires very clear, what you will and will not tolerate. And you can do it with a smile on your face, or you can do it in anger if need be. But to have access to and understand all of these emotions equally, they actually will guide you in how to live your authentic life, to be authentic, to say what you mean what you say, to set your boundaries and not allow anyone to trespass them. And I'm seeing it this way because I grew up in the South, and in the South, Scarlett O'Hara and all that, you are supposed to be polite, especially women, always be kind and polite. And that made it very difficult for me as a young woman going out into the world and meeting people I had never been exposed to before, and considering how they are behaving toward me, and if I don't care for their, how men like to call women baby. I find that so offensive. To me, I don't even know you. Why are you calling me baby? That's an insult, because to me, you're putting me down. And I will tell someone right off the bat now, I will say, don't call me baby. I'm not your baby. That's disrespectful. Well,
Exactly.
back then, I didn't know how to do that. And I spent a lot of time living in fear of people like that, because I wasn't accustomed to that. And as we all navigate through life and we have these experiences, especially as a small child or a teenager and adolescent, you're going through these passages of life, and you're learning as you grow how to deal with other people, how to be your authentic self and be true to what you feel in your heart, and not allow people to take advantage of you. So what you're describing, I really agree with, because if you can equally embrace and balance all emotions within yourself, then you use what you need at the time to demand respect, and not to let people push you around, and not to allow you to be disrespected in any way. And you know, I think people would respect you more for that.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason why that we use the word balance, emotional balance, is because that, for example, that situation that I had described earlier could go the opposite way. You could, if you were not balanced emotionally, you could be scared. Now, okay, you become scared. Now, let's play the scenario. You become scared. Now, instead of you standing up to this guy or this girl, right?
Yes.
Now the situation immediately escalate to something totally, you know,
Uncomfortable.
exactly for everybody. But since you have that emotional control, that you are balanced, by you stepping in immediately, diffuse the situation because you have called in the proper emotion that needs to serve you at that time.
Right.
And
Well,
by you being by you being emotionally balanced, your body will automatically kick in the right emotion that you need.
when you said fear, you reminded me of peer pressure. I remember that peer pressure and expecting to behave a certain way to be with the in crowd and things like that. That should no longer be an issue. There should never be an in crowd. People, when they, because I think that's where a lot of bad lessons are taught to young people who do not yet know how to stand in their own authenticity. Because you have to be really strong to do that. But when you have emotional control over and balance, then you are strong and you are fearless and you can stand up for yourself and you can push back. And someone hands you, you know, drugs or whatever, it's very easy to say, I'm sorry, I don't care for that, thank you. But no thanks. And you stand in that authenticity. And you know, I remember during my younger years growing up in, you know, people pushing drugs or sex or drinking or something. Oh, come on, don't be such a baby, you know. And it's really cool. You have to try it. And so I think you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. And to be able, yeah, and to be able to state that clearly and emphatically, no one's going to argue with that. Or they could try.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that I totally agree. And that's one thing as a kid when I was growing up to high school. And I mean, I realized that was different. But when other people start, you know, try to recruit me into, hey, you know, why are you dressed like this? You know, you need to dress like this. And I was like, why? Why do I need to dress like you? You know, because it's cool. No, I don't think so because I do not want to be like you. You know, and as I was growing up, a lot of people also been telling me, hey, you need to find a role model. You need to find somebody that you could look up to, you know. And I was like, why? Why do I need to look up to somebody? Why do I need to be like somebody else? You know, and I never realized why that I was thinking like that. And I realized that it's because that I had that emotional control, that I had respect.
Self-respect.
You know, I respect myself and I respect the persons, you know, and I never get into argument with anybody because when somebody want to be like me or like them, you know, I just tell them straight up that no, I do not wish to be like you. You know, because I like me to be like me.
Well, you see,
you know?
they have free
and
will.
if I want to, well, I mean, we all have free will. It's just
Yes.
a matter of how you exercise it. I mean, you could always give it to somebody, which is what, you know, what peer pressure is. You give your free will to somebody else, that person is control you, either by you want to be, you know, in a crowd, or you want to be like Mike, as they say, you know. But the bottom line is you have to stand your ground and understand that you are who you are.
Right.
And once you start standing your ground, you so if I were to draw a picture on what it's mean to be emotionally balanced is, it's like from being a small little, well, I do not want to demean anything, so I will not be using any animal or, okay, so it's like being a small little statue to be a giant statue. It's like, because you bow down before somebody because you are scared, you automatically inflate the other person's energy to be bigger than you. The balance automatically shifts.
Right.
Right? Because the minute that you're scared, all that energy that you had embodied goes to the person immediately become a giant before you. So the person could, even though the person was not meant to squash you, now it have the power to squash you like a bug, because you just give the person your power.
Right.
And by you standing up, you equalize the person's energy to your energy, and there's only one thing that the person will do is back off and says, hey, you know what, this person is my equal. I cannot, force my way, on him or on her. And by you understanding that, you don't even have to be majestic. You don't even have to be, grand. Just the thought of you standing, for yourself alone, the person will back up.
And you have to, you need to do that in the very beginning.
Yes, exactly.
And from the get-go, be authentic, be who you are. Have self-respect.
Exactly. Absolutely. Because you know who you are, you know what you are, and the person cannot. I mean, if the person is going to do something to you, by you being scared, it's just going to make it worse. Because now they know they have full control of what they can do to you, and there's nothing you can do because you already render your power to them.
You're talking about being fearless, and fearlessness is another quality that empowers you. And fear is a huge part of our society. And that is, again, where the emotional balance comes into play. And owning your authenticity, owning who you are, and not being afraid to say so. And this is true because that's been bred into our society. But I believe now with the spiritual movement, more and more people are finding out that that's really not power. And I think that money has been a predominant thing because to many people, money is their God. That's who they worship. Being the best of the best. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it depends upon how you value, what you value as being controlling in your life. And speaking of value, I heard or read somewhere recently that, you and I both channel. I do automatic writing, intuitive messages, and you're channeling the Zion Collective right now as we speak. I mean, they're speaking through you. I can tell when it's, I've been around you for a while now, and I can tell when it's, you talking and when they're talking through you. And the interesting thing to me is that valuing something is like requalifying it or not requalifying it. And what I had heard was, if we receive a message and we channel information, it comes to us pure because it comes directly from the universe. It comes directly from spirit, from source. But if we alter that message in any way, it devalues it. It changes the meaning, and therefore, by just looking at something, it changes. So when we actually change the message that we receive, it makes it no longer pure. And I'm kind of curious as to what the Zion Collective would say based on how to requalify something or not requalify something. And that is another form of judgment. Because what we're doing is when we requalify it, we're placing our judgment on it through our life filters and through our experiences. Then it's no longer pure. It's been humanized. So I'm curious as to how they would address this.
Okay, so the best way that we could address this is as follows. As humans have specific way they understand everything. Like right now, as we're having this conversation, 5 seconds of this conversation can be understood by at least 5,000. Because each word is considered to be a trigger for each of them. And whenever we speak, each of the words that we speak or each of the words that come from beyond is a coded message to a specific individual that needs to hear what they need to hear. So in any event that whatever that we said is translate into your own, you distort that information that the person needed to hear. That code word that the person needed to hear is no longer there. So now that individual will have to wait for another message to come through similarly, and possibly never to get that same code, either to awaken them or to trigger what they need to be triggered to continue their journey. Because like your kind use words as a spell. Everything that comes out of our mouth is to create something. It can be used as a positive thing, it could use as a negative thing. But the way that we use words as code. That's why we specifically choose and pick our word wisely to your understanding. So that's why it is very imperative that whenever we say something, it does not get misconstrued on variable of your own understanding. And that's our take on that.
Excellent. That was exactly what I wanted to hear. Because people don't understand a lot of times when they're reading something or listening to someone deliver a message that is coming from a pure source, that there are light codes, there are codecs in these words. And I know when I receive a message, I actually can feel the energy of the words flowing through me. And I have to pick and choose what I am seeing when I write the words that are coming through to me. And I have to avoid not changing it, not rewording it. And you know, a lot of times it's not even grammatically correct, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Because I find that the words that come through with the most impact are when the words are pure, when the words come through and I can feel the energy of it. And I remember one time trying to reword it because I thought, well, this isn't clear, this isn't grammatically correct. And then when I read it back afterwards, it had absolutely no feeling or anything in it, any energy in it that was there originally. And that was when I realized this is a mistake. I should not have reworded that. So I'm more diligent now with being pure with the information.
Be mindful that words are not our original language. We don't speak words. And that's one reason that we have to pick it. And we also be mindful that everything that is said, it's not always for you to understand. It's not always for somebody else to understand. Because each of these words are a specific message to a specific individual.
Yes.
So it's okay if you do not understand it. It's okay if you do not feel the message within it, but somebody out there need to hear it.
That's good. That's really good to hear.
Yes. Because again, we do not speak your tongue. We speak our own word, and most of things that we said is because that we were called upon to say it because somebody's been waiting it for it. Everything, every words are just information until it hits the right ears. It becomes a trigger to that specific individual. So it's okay if you do not.
Okay, that's good. A lot of times when, I have received messages, I thought that I was supposed to release this information to everyone, but I've learned since then that that was a message just for me. It wasn't to be distributed. And I was really glad to hear that. Now I'm trying to understand the energy that I feel, the frequency of the words. I'm beginning to understand the frequencies are telling me when it's for me or when it's for everyone.
Well,
just like everybody has their own frequency, recognizing who you're speaking with is by their frequency.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, human call it frequency match. And we have learned long time ago to be mindful of how we speak, because I believe that humans cannot take the truth as the truth. Because whenever we start communicating and telling you what needs to be done, most of you humans get offended because you felt like it's not appropriate because that's beyond or that's beneath them. So we have learned to match your frequency appropriately, accordingly, to make sure that you have the information that you need. So if we match your frequency at that time, and if you disturb that frequency by translating into your own word, it's no longer a frequency match. It becomes your understanding that you distort. So it's no longer a frequency match to anyone. It's just information that you put on a paper. So that's one thing you need to be mindful of.
Okay, I appreciate that, because the energy in the words that I connect with when I am writing are very specific, because when I'm receiving information, I'm answering a question. Someone may ask a question, or I may have a question, and then the answer comes through in the writing. And that's really a hint when the answer's for me, because of the topic is telling me, first of all, this was the answer to your question you've been asking 4 days, and we're sick of hearing it, so we're going to answer it now so we can move forward. But there are times that energy, starts flowing as I'm writing, and I didn't have a question at all. It's just flowing, and the information is coming through very clearly. And this has been very educational for me, because I want it to be as accurate as possible. And it's like when you tell me, usually when I get an intuitive response to a question, like who am I communicating with, the very first response is the accurate one. If I doubt what I'm hearing and I keep asking and I get a different response, then maybe that's not the right answer. I should have gone with the first response. And this is the difficulty of channeling, is doing it enough that you begin to understand at a very high level who you're communicating with. And most of the time for me, I don't care who it is. And I even forget to ask. I just know that when the flow starts and I feel it, and it comes through my body, it's not coming through my brain, it's coming through my heart. And it's like when I'm in a meditation and I feel that connection and I feel the flow start then, that's all going on within my heart. My goal has been to try to stay connected in my heart and don't put my brain in it at all, except to spell the words and come up with the right flow. And it's a lot like, you know, we always tell everyone, step into the flow, stay in the flow. So I would like to know more from the collective about how would you describe that to a novice spiritualist of how to step into and stay in the flow.
Yes. First thing, you must trust yourself. Once you trust yourself, you will automatically be in alignment with your source of information, and you will get confirmation before and after your information come through. And once you trust yourself to certain understanding, where you will no longer doubt where the information comes, because once you are in alignment, where the information is coming from, whose the information is coming from is irrelevant. Most information that comes through are not for the present. They are for your future self. They are for the future of others that will be hearing that information. So be mindful of that as well. Because once you start flowing, remember you are flowing. Flow doesn't stay still. It flows. It goes to the future. As we speak right now, all this information, someone will be hearing it in the future. When they are ready to receive it, that information will find them. So what I would recommend is, as a novice, learn to trust yourself, learn to remove judgment in your reality, and know that you are what you are. In another word, I am that I am that I am. Once you come into alignment with all this, everything will just flow. There will be no who am I speaking with, because it will just flow.
I agree.
That is all.
I thank you, because I teach every day, and I teach people from all around the world, every country, and from all levels of comprehension and understanding. And I've been trying to take them on a journey through Ascension to help them grow through the process. And when I talk to them about releasing judgment, and that they don't need someone to save them or rescue them, that people need knowledge of their own power and how to access it. Can someone speak to us about that, and any information or input that would be helpful in bringing these students to a higher level of understanding?
Yes. For a beginner, one have to understand that you are who you are, that you are plugged into the oneness. And you have to realize that you are one with everything. Once you start realizing you are one with everything, yes, you have to, there's many steps you have to take to get into alignment, because your spirit will understand that, okay, I am attached to everything. I could feel everything, but your mind, your body will be fighting you. You will have that internal conflict, that war that's fighting, okay, you know, should I believe, should I not believe, should I believe, should I not believe? You have to experiment for yourself and prove to yourself that you are what you are, that you are attached, that you are connected to source, that you are part of source. And once you convince yourself, because we cannot convince you of who you are, we could only show you the cards and give you the message. It's up to you to step into your own powers, because we cannot tell you that, hey, this is your power, go ahead, put it on. It doesn't work that way. You have to do your journey. You have to follow the flow. You have to do what you think is right for you, because the same way that you were programmed to think the way that everybody else is not the same way that everyone was programmed. Each program derives differently into your internals. So I cannot expect you to deprogram yourself the same way that everybody else does. It just doesn't work that way, because we all have a unique blueprint. So you have to start from scratch, where you look in the mirror and say to yourself, I'm not this vessel. You have to understand that you in this vessel is two different entities. And once you start understanding that, you will be able to start stepping over into your power, that you are higher than this, that you have abilities, capabilities that's waiting for you on the other side of that reprogramming. And everything else is history. That is the best we can.
That brings me to another question. Thank you, because I love that. I was clinging to every word you spoke. You know, people, we all have different abilities, and some of us have many abilities. And I feel that these abilities were dormant initially early in my life. And as my consciousness grew, I acquired more abilities that were amazing. There's clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, claircognizance, yes. And at times I have exercised all of these at different times, which was surprising, because initially, growing up and on this journey for all the years that I've been on it, was it the fact that I just didn't believe I had them, or they had not been brought outward as my consciousness grew? So how can we help people understand their abilities and how to mature them?
Okay, so as you are speaking, the best way that we found to explain this is, for example, a laptop, correct? You buy a laptop off the shelf. The laptop comes with diverse preloaded programs that you probably have never heard of. And little by little, if you don't go into the hard drive to see what's on that laptop, you will never be able to have the knowledge on how to utilize each of these programs. We see human as a laptop. You have unlimited potential, but if you do not exercise, if you do not search for who you are, what you are, and believe that you have all these capabilities on your hard drive, you will never expend them. So what we recommend is, you have to understand that you have to trust yourself. Understand that this is your blueprint. You came to this world with all these abilities. It's your birthright. If you know of their existence, I highly recommend that you start exploring them and start training yourself on how to use them. Because when you first bought a computer, you have to learn how to use it, correct?
That's right.
It's the same thing. Now you are aware of those programs. Now you have to be familiar. You will try to get familiar on how to use them, and eventually you become mastered. So it's the same thing with all your abilities. You have to explore them, exploit them, and learn how to use them daily, little by little. By you putting them on the side, said it's a joke. What do you think's going to happen? You will become that walking, breathing, sleeping meat bag that you do the same thing every day: eat, drink, sleep.
Yes. Yes. So you're saying if you believe you have them and you reach out and expand on them and study them and use them and practice them, that's how you develop them.
Absolutely. Because we as human beings have the same blueprint. Every human being has the same blueprint. Now,
we can all have any of these abilities because it's in our blueprint.
Absolutely. Well, every human being possessed that blueprint on their hard drive. Now, what you do with it is up to you.
Okay. Excellent. So, as our cognizance, our understanding, spiritual understandings grow, and my experience is the more knowledge I obtain, the higher I ascend, the more abilities I have received. I acknowledge, I experience. So, if that's the case, if anybody could do that, anyone could do that if they want to experience this personal expansion. But one thing I want you to explain is what that really means as far as a life change. It's not let's try it one time and see if it works. Well, no, I give up. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about incorporating this into your lifestyle. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. Right about now, a lot of humans talk of ascension, and there's a whole misinformation about what is ascension. And just to clarify that we all are having our own ascension, but we all are in our own timeline. Yes, we are in this entanglement that, we drag each other behind, the whole charade. But so back to the question. I just need to clear that out. Change, because the whole thing is, what about now the life that we are living is totally, what can I say, fraud. It's a complete fraud to you. It's a complete fraud to humanity. It's a complete fraud to mankind. Because we were not meant to go through the process of getting up every day, give somebody your time in exchange of something else. We were not meant to have a routine. That's why a lot of humans have problem with routines. We are not a species of routine. We are a spontaneous species that does things spontaneously. There's a lot of problem. There's a lot of things that common denominator that most humans have, like being lazy is not that. Treading lightly, quote unquote, treading lightly. Being lazy is not a bad thing. It's part of your DNA, because you are not meant to work and work and work and work until you die. There's a lot of things that if you put it in a logical way, that it's our blueprint. There's a lot of things that we cannot understand. It's because that it's in your blueprint not to understand it. It's not you. Because you are, it's for example, try to train an animal. You could train that animal as much as you want, but you could never turn that animal into a human being and have it do the same routine that you do every day.
Right.
Because it's not part of their blueprint. It's not part of their DNA. Our DNA is not meant for this life that we're living right now. So changing to who you are is a walk in the park, because you're changing back to who you were, to your original blueprint. The only thing that can stop you is you. And by understanding that you are changing back to you, who you are originally, should give you the confidence to move forward every day on making little changes by little changes by little changes. And it doesn't matter what your circumstances is. I'm sure everybody have 5 seconds to go inside and search for that inner voice, search for that answer. Because a lot of people, instead of trying to change their life, they bring up excuses after excuses. Oh, I can't do this because I can't. Be mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. By you saying you can't, you automatically creating the can't. You creating obstacles for you not to go back to your blueprint. And if you think that living the life that you are is easy, then going back to your blueprint, just give it a try. I guarantee you will feel 10 times comfortable going back to your original self.
Well, it's natural. It would be our natural
Exactly.
self.
Exactly. You don't have to think about. It's like the trees. You think the trees think about, okay, where am I growing? How am I growing? How am I going to get oxygen? How am I going to do this? The trees doesn't process any of these things because it knows that, the sun will come up. It knows that, the process, it has to go up and look for the sun. And it doesn't matter what's in his way, it will bend all around and look for the sun because that's what it needs. That's his natural way of growing. And as a human being, going back to your natural way, it's not, I will not even call it a life changing. I will call it a life returning to your original self.
Without the struggle.
Without the struggle. Because for you to be who you are right now, it requires thousands and thousands and thousands of years of programming for you to be who you are right now.
Yes.
And by you denouncing all this program, you just dropped 10 centuries of stupidity, and living back your simplest life again.
Well,
because we are simple beings.
Yes, we are. I'm very simple. Some people may not agree with that because I don't want to go along with their plan. But I have been blessed to have a husband who supports me, even if he doesn't agree. And that's just the way we have adjusted to returning to our divine blueprint. It's free will. If that's what your free will desires, then do it. And for that reason, I can honestly say I love my divine blueprint, and I wouldn't go back to, the outer world dominance and control by society ever again. I mean, there are some things you have to kind of put up with when you're in 3D, but, I can choose to go to 5D in my mind and be who I truly am.
Yes, and also, may I also say that sometimes I believe that human does not know what their blueprint is. So we must, in a later topic, we must explain to them what their true blueprint is about.
Good.
Because imagine getting up and not needing to search for your answer, not needing to feel any pain, not needing to, be troubled by somebody else's stupidity, because they want you to be on their timeline.
Right.
And to me, just having a peace of mind alone is priceless. Not having to be infatuated by all the noises outside is priceless. Being able to know that, okay, I have full control of my body. Right, today I want to have blue eyes. I want to have long hair. And immediately it happens. Because that's who you are. You are, once upon a time, you are able to manipulate this body at will. You are able to live thousands and thousands of years and decided to, okay, you know what? I don't like this body anymore. I think I'll switch.
I like that.
But with all this programming,
we forgot.
I mean, exactly. We have so much other species in ourselves that I truly believe once humans are awakened, we will be the master in command of this universe.
Superhumans.
Well, you will no longer be humans. You just be super.
Oh, I love that. Well, I think that's a great place to start with the next video.
Exactly. And being super will be just a normal. You don't have to, because you're back to your original self.
Mm-hmm.
And to you, it will be just, okay, what was I waiting for? All this time I could have been here. If only I know. These are the stuff that's going to be going into your head. Only if I know, I should have started this long time ago.
What took me so long?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. And I think that's a perfect place to start the next discussion. Yeah, I'll just say farewell to everyone for now. And these discussions are going to get good. They're getting better. Okay.
Oh, yes. So hold on to your seats.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.